There's players who specifically excel on a very small number of them. While LeBlanc is, of course, common, Slushie is really known for that champion in particular, so that has to be banned by NME eSports. Even though Inox could play it himself, they can't risk it.
Yeah, another ban that's happened 3 times against NME was the mid lane Kog'Maw. I talked to Inox really briefly. He says, yeah, it's so strange. People keep banning Kog'Maw against me. I've only played it once in competitive play, and it was in Challenger. And I was like, well, have you practiced a lot? And he's like, yeah, I was like the first one to start practicing it, and I played it all the time. Maybe
so
that's why.
Aware.
Maybe that's why they banned AP Kog'Maw. But as you can see right now, no Echo bans. We do see a Rise ban. The AP Kog'Maw ban is getting closer and closer to going through. I think we're going to see some fireworks this game.
Depending on the skin, absolutely. We'll see if he goes for that one. LeBlanc, Kalista off the table. You mentioned the Gragas and the Rise as well. Waiting to see if the Echo phase is going to be there, but no, Inox surprisingly banning his own Kassadin.
That's a little strange.
I mean, we know Slushie is good on Assassin types, but he's been happily playing Ziggs for the last month, essentially. And
yeah, that's a champion that has not been banned against teammate the entire split and also hasn't been picked by them.
Maybe it's something NME found in scrims when these guys were practicing earlier on in the year, but yeah, definitely a curiosity here. I assume Flares didn't misclick. They could have ejected out of champ select if that were the case. Final ban coming through as Alistair. Not a big surprise there either.
Echo is on the board.
He is, as is the Kog'Maw. And the question is, with pretty much every single common poke mid still up, unless there's a tier list pecking order where Kog beats Varus, NME could leave that champ up for later. And as you say, Echo might be that important that they pick it up right away.
Yeah. Obviously, the European
also
LCS, Echo was picked to ban in 9 out of 10 games. In the LPL, where he was available, 15 of 16 games.
Yep.
1 out of 1 so far in North America.
All right, here we go. So,
the crazy thing about Echo, so he's definitely strong. And whenever there's a champion that is overpowered in this sense, you get to play him in a variety of roles. And he's so strong that people are throwing him into the team just to have him and then figuring out later where he goes. We've seen him both in the top lane, jungle, and mid lane, and it's a spectacular flex pick in that sense to be able to first pick right now.
Full AP Echo with the mid lane, tank or AP Echo top lane, or tank Echo jungle have been the main builds we've seen so far.
Yep.
We've seen, I believe, Riven as a counter pick to him before in China, unless I'm forgetting the matchup. Top lane Hecarim comes through already, though, for Cali Trolls, plus the Thresh picked up by Dodo. So teammates saying, okay, here's your Echo, here's what we want to play. Oddly, though, again, with the Gragas ban and no Rek'Sai ban, Rek'Sai has not been seen yet in Champ Select.
Yeah, that's interesting. Mainly, it's just Dodo wanting the Thresh. They also want to block Hecarim from flares. He had that devastating Hecarim game against TSM where he nearly solo carried the entire game. So, pretty normal picks. I'm a little surprised that Porpoise did not go for the Rek'Sai, only because it's been a staple of his, especially when he's had successful games. But with Sejuani still up as well, and that being a pick that he enjoys, I think they're just going to wait for a bit more of the team comp to come together to figure out if they need the early game pressure against what NME picks, or if they go with Sejuani.
Let's see if that comes out here then. Team fight comp, early picks, early aggression, any of these things could absolutely happen. The Rek'Sai hover right now is for Trashy. And looks like he's going to let that one get locked in, but Inox needs to pick his own champion here, and they're really taking a long time to figure it out that they want Janna down to the bot lane. When you go in 3 lanes, you're like, okay, wait, he's not going to be jungle anymore. So, Inox, do you want him yet, or are we still going to wait? Crap, just pick Janna, screw it.
Man, they almost got random to champion right there.
Yeah, it was close.
Would have been interesting. Janna right now, decent disengage against the Hecarim. Plenty of team composition to still come in.
All right, here we go. 30 seconds to go on the next setup here. Cassiopeia, the hover for Slushie, a big team fight mage for them. Yeah, Azir just kind of as well. Slushie's been playing a whole lot of Ziggs, but picked one of the other champions that fit into the role. Nunu also picked up. This team is actually set up to buff Nian if they want him on something like a Jinx, meanwhile. Yeah,
and this is the real reason that we didn't see an early lock-in on Rek'Sai, is especially if they wanted to plan somewhat of a control composition around Nunu Azir. Great synergy between those two. As far as champions that actually can do well against Rek'Sai, Nunu is kind of near the top of the list in my opinion, because yes, he can burr to close on you, but afterwards, if you just hit him with a snowball, he generally can't get off his auto attacks after his knockup, or even get to you for the knockup if you hit him with a snowball while Rek'Sai is burrowed. So I actually do love this Nunu pick by teammate as well as the Azir. The only danger is they ended up having to pick Azir blind. And now Inox gets to pick if he wants Echo or something else. Assuming that Flares has put enough
Happy
games
to
on
play
Echo
Echo
to swap on top.
Yeah, true. We've only seen a very few top lane Echo games so far, literally 2 in professional play, from what I can tell. There is a loss over in China and a win for Huni over in Europe, and it's going to be, mid lane Echo. Gnar top comes through to face off against Hecarim. The Saber comes through for Otter.
So NME ended up making sure they had tanks in their team, which is generally wise, especially against Azir, because they need to be able to bash him around a little bit. Need to have some type of front line of their own against a strong teammate front line that we have put together right here.
Yeah. But as far as just persistent damage and team fight power, teammates certainly have pretty much the best in the business down the line. Cinder Hulk, Hecarim, pretty scary, just blood-boiled Azir in the first place. A lot of amazing things out here for the teammate 5v5. NME eSports, of course, with the choice to pick their fights with a couple of assassins and a lot of cool team fight powers like Sivir ulti.
Yep.
We'll see if they can pick the right fights, though, as teammate look to grab their final slot here.
Yeah, just need an 80 carry. And that's teammate right there. They're just going for heavy amounts of team fight damage and kind of setting up a position with the Azir and the Nunu. And Jinx can work for that. It really will depend on Nien's positioning, whether he can avoid the Echo assassinations. Echo, really great at baiting people into his ultimate. Pretty good at diving in, but as well as having to get enough damage to actually one-shot the Jinx without your ultimate, you got to pull off a pretty perfect combo on a late-game Echo. So I kind of like that Jinx pick here, but of course, it really just depends on how well Inox assassinates and how well Nien positions.
Yeah, those are going to be very important things, and at the very end of it all, you at least have Thresh to help keep things safe in the end of it. Maybe that'll be enough to keep the Jinx alive. Nien, of course, on 5.10, Jinx, so the mid game's a little bit weaker, but he's just known for getting farm over and over again and scaling up throughout the late game. But I guess I need to ask a little bit of team that have almost too much late game Jinx and Azir on the same team. Feels like more than enough late game insurance. Nice! It's a good celebratory fist bump for both those guys. They head off stage.
Yeah, history teacher wanting to pick up his first win as the coach of teammate.
Yep.
We mentioned earlier, a very important game for teammate. Always needing to pick up that first win. And of course, NME, they want to get above 500 here.
And that'd be sweet. 3-2 for them would be great. But while the teams load onto the game, be sure to send your picks with hashtag NMEWin or hashtag T8Win to @LOL Esports. Over on Twitter, let us know who's going to win this one. You can see the team comps up on your screen. A really big, powerful team fight comp for Team 8. NME Esports bringing the first Echo to North America in Inox's hands.
They're also the first game Echoes available. I guess we can give them the title for having the first Echo.
He gets it.
It's not as special as Lust Boy having the first Bard. Because, you know, people had their own chances to pick up.
Yeah, Afro had a ban against him like 4 times.
It's true. And it got played against him.
It's true. He had the chance
Ultimate
to pick it, he
disrespect.
didn't. I know. How unfortunate. But we are onto the Rift, ladies and gentlemen. Week 3 of North American LCS has begun. Woo. And first damage dealt by Inox.
It's basically the game right there.
Yeah, well, Cali Trolls says that with a little more time, Team 8 will be a real threat.
I feel a lot more comfortable when playing with Nien already, and I don't think we should be judging by our first 2 weeks right now. We are doing really well on Scrim, and we have potential to beat any team in NA right now, but it just hasn't come out yet due to recent changes in coach and also obviously AD carry.
Yeah, as we saw during that right there, Otter sticking his head out a little too deep into the river for that teammate brute force invade. It cost him his flash, and at the end of the day, teammate gets their wards in, but that also meant that NME was able to get some deep wards in of their own. What I liked most about this teammate invade is they spent a little bit longer to get that ward in their own jungle so that they could track where NME entered for those own wards. So this time it was basically all wins for teammate. They got the wards they wanted as well as scouting NME, and they burned the flash.
A really good start for these guys. Deep utility tree for Porpoise in order to afford all the wards and everything. Just for the interesting insight into his mastery choices. And here we go. Porpoise and Cali Trolls will be double jungling up on this red buff here. And on the safe side of the map, as their dual lane is down on that side, as enemy have lane swapped.
Yeah, they're be interesting here. what Trashy's read is. He should know with their lane swap that he needs to invade the enemy red. Otherwise, he'd be in danger of a bit of a 3-buff, but this should be a relatively standard open. And I believe both lanes were able to get a freeze.
Looking into it now, looks like Sivir is actually pushing her lane, and Jinx
Otter
is
was
doing the
unable
same.
to get the freeze.
I think this is the standard par for the course when your junglers start on this side of the map correctly. Is
When
you
you
do
four-man.
the fourth wave turret push. Jinx will be a little bit better than Sivir, but Sivir has Gianna, who's better than Thresh and knocking turrets down. So as far as cumulative turret killing power, I would say it's close. Oh, Leash's back didn't heal though.
Interesting little
Didn't know that could
interaction
happen
right there.
Yeah.
A lot of times when a leash is back, it will start healing because you've hit the 3 soft leash recap, but it didn't look like they hit the leash cap, and for some reason the red walked away.
Once in a while I see a leash like that.
Yeah, it basically just looks like these guys are going to be doing 4-man turret pushes right now. Neither team is trying to prep 3 or 4 people to race down and catch the big wave that wasn't froze. Because there's a couple of different options you have in these situations. But yeah, it looks like they're just going to be trading each other's jungles and going for the turret kills. At the moment, it's actually both teams hoping for a dive. They're kind of hoping that someone shows up at that turret to get experience, but no one is that foolish. There's going to be 4 people in there taking the turret.
And Teammate actually managed their turret dive quite a bit better. I think NME will still knock the turret down, but Teammate had cleared all the camps a bit faster. They've got a bigger wave to push it down. I believe the bottom turret will actually die first as well, depending how they want to balance this, though. Yeah, okay, if they're just going to balance the wave. Looks like NME will be right on time. That last minion dies, and they will build a freeze for the top laner. Looks like Teammate will have the same after all. So even though Teammate did jungle slightly faster, it did not matter.
Well, they could get the dragon. That's the only,
Oh, yeah, you're right.
That's the only main difference when you have this particular lane swap. Whoever decides to go top lane does forfeit a little bit of dragon control. It's interesting what we're seeing out of a lot of these North American teams is it's a very macro-focused style, but it also really diminishes the risk-taking these teams are willing to do in the early game. I definitely am hoping for some more aggressive play this week, because I think there's some windows for exploitation on the slowness that a lot of these teams are doing. But if both teams are doing the same thing, then technically there's not those weaknesses to be exploited.
True.
And that's what happened here. Teammate with the dragon, turret trade, small advantage.
Speaking of small advantages, Slushi also slightly had on Inox here, who's been pushed into his turret the entire time on Echo. The CS lead not massive, but is a small lead for the Team 8 mid laner. Meanwhile, we see as the lanes come back to normal, Flares will be holding that freeze top lane. He'll be facing Nien. And of course, the opposite scenario down to the bottom side is Otter invited up to push in towards Calitrolls.
Yeah, and the tricky thing about this mid lane matchup is Inox gets a little bit aggressive. Is that type of aggression he actually can't do frequently at all with the lane swaps, because there's usually 2 people MIA on the map at all times. It's not just a jungler gank you have to worry about. It's a jungle gank and a support gank and a top lane gank and all the things, which basically turns mid lane into a farm war until you get sufficient ward coverage down. It's actually, in my opinion, pretty solid of Inox to have the CS he has as a melee right now against Slushy's Azir early on.
Yep, he went flash to try to keep himself alive. That should be working out pretty well for him. Porpoise so far playing the control game quite nicely. He got to take the bottom scuttler, good away pink ward, should get the top one on top of that one. Inox still getting dropped low, but he's still like holding up in CS, though he is now out of potions after this one time's out.
Yep. Just doing his best. He's going to have to back real shortly.
Yeah, he's out of mana. He can't stay any longer.
He's got 1,450 gold.
Hold on. Porpoise says hello to Trashy. Smite consume matches level 4, and Dodo's already here. Good flash by Trashy to stay alive, but there's already a Jinx in this one. The dive from teammate is surely going to work. First blood goes to Calitrolls. Porpoise has aggro, jumps right back out. They knock down Flares on top of it, and now Body Drop's getting caught out. A summer heal keeps Calitrolls alive, and it's 3 kills for 0 under a turret. Enemy's seen this one before.
Oh boy, that is like the classic 4v3 early game, except it happened on the second turret when people were much higher levels. The reason this was so disastrous for NME is because they were funneling in slowly to go defend that turret, which was being slow pushed with a big minion wave by Team 8. and they didn't account for the missing members of the team. So instead of waiting a little bit, grouping up and attempting the turret take as a group, they went in one by one because they didn't want to lose CS, and because the rest of teammate was there, they ended up getting crushed. Obviously, it all started in the jungle with Porpoise onto Trashy, but that's the general gist. It was not a clean rotation by NME, and teammate punished it.
Well, really good by teammate. Then looks like with a 3,000 gold lead, they've done a great job of setting their early games quite nicely here. And looking for the first win on the board, this might be the setup they need to do so. Right now, NME not going to lose their blue buff off that, and they will be able to set up Inox for this blue, assuming he wants it. Right now, he's got to clear this wave under his turret, but knocks it down.
Yeah, he probably wants it. It's just
And over he goes, I
he's
imagine.
so pushed into his turret that he loses a lot of time every time he goes back. Yeah, he's going for it right now. Rek'Sai, no need for such things. Has blue buff. What a start by teammate here. So not only do they do the Trashy took the blue.
I think it. I don't know what actually took it though. I didn't think I saw him auto attack. I looked at sort of passively over on my screen, and I didn't quite see what stole the
follow
damage.
the play-by-play. I will watch it on my own screen here.
All right, you tell me what happens. Meanwhile, teammates still playing very aggressively. Porpoise and Dodo duo invading to kill another pink ward. Inox can't get into his own jungle at all.
I don't understand what happened, Freak, with this boost too. It looks so strange.
And a 4-man push by teammate into the mid lane. They just keep making the rotations happen. The early Nunu pressure. Inox comes in for the stun. They're going to catch Nien for a lot of damage, though, and he will go down to Trashy.
Yeah, and we talked about the positioning from Yen and how important it would be, and he's just caught completely out of spot right there. Inox doesn't have to really do much to kill him.
The flash to
Maybe
get it.
More.
The flash made the slow land. He got the passive tick and everything. 2-0-1 on Echo from Inox.
This is a very strange game right there, how all of that turned around seemingly at the drop of a hat for
Hold
NME,
on.
and they continue.
Flash Gnar ulti. Slushy flashes the wall to get away. He will survive, but maybe not. Trashy's still on the hunt. Of course, Tremor Sense lets him know what's going on. I think he'll live. The mid lane turret will not, and NME eSports ties up the turret game. They've tied up the kill game, and now they're ahead in gold.
So for everything the teammate did in the early game to get that lead with the quick rotations and the dragon fight and catching them in the top lane, that's all gone now.
Yep.
Because NME wins one massive fight as well as being able to take a turret afterwards.
Now their ability to engage and pick fights. They've got engage tools with Gnar and Rek'Sai. They've got the Sivir ulti, and they've got Echo for follow-up. While teammate have a good 5-on-5, they can get picked out. And that's exactly what we saw, but Nien with Blood Boil will answer back the turret as NME were forced to recall and buy off their recent victories.
Yeah. Going back a bit, you can notice Calitroll's in the bottom lane without his TP right here, so NME know that they can get a 5v4, they just have to go in slow. It's mainly because teammate wasn't respecting the Echo zone of control right there, and Yen gets stunned, and that ends up turning it into a 5v3. Plus, you have to add in the fact that they had a Sivir ult. Porpoise is not level 6, so he can't zone with his absolute 0. And yeah, teammate just gets completely run down, all because of the open from Inox's Echo, I have to say.
All right, so we sit back at a game 500 gold apart and with a dragon lead for teammate. So all said and done, the smallest of leads for the red team. Calitrolls will have teleport very soon. He's got a completed Cinder Hulk with challenging smite on top of that. So a scary Hecarim definitely galloping around the map. It's a 23 minion lead, 21 minion lead for this Hecarim here. So certainly a scary top laner. He's even got 100% kill participation.
Yeah, but with all the rotations, something that's happened is Porpoise has fallen incredibly far behind in CS.
Oh, wow.
He's a 13 CS Nunu at 11 minutes. I wonder if when they were double jungling, if he was giving some of the CS to Cali instead of taking it as a jungler, because they're both going for jungle items. But that just puts him so far in the support role. As far as needing zone control with Nunu, he just doesn't have it right now because he's so starved for gold.
Yeah, he's 500 gold down. I think some that mitigates it is that he has been taking scuttlers more often, so that'll slightly deflate the CS numbers. I mean, 500 gold disparity
still 500 gold down.
Oh, I mean, certainly.
Jungler.
Yeah, I definitely agree he's behind. I just think we'll have to see what he can do then with his Sightstone Rush and no other combat stats then, because he's certainly squishy. Vision control was what teammate was trying to do. The one mistake cost them, but they have been trying to play an objective game. At least they will have that Blood Boil no matter how farmed he is. And they can make Azir or Jinx carry their team fights. Calitrolls has become the primary tank with Cinderhulk Rush. So
pretty much. It basically
maybe it pans out.
It basically switches their team into a double support. Instead of a new front line, he's kind of more of a supportive bot right now. But Calitrolls is ahead because of it, right? He was able to finish his Cinderhulk early. Flares is still waiting on his item timings. And with the Dragon live and Calitrolls having his teleport up, this would be the time where they'd have to go in and try and make an impact with it.
All right, double TP and attempted Frozen Mallet for Flares, which he will not have for another 1,000 gold or so, but that was his intended way of bullying around Calitrolls. Against Cinderhulk, Hecarim, definitely scary. And we're going to see pretty much equal items for those AD carries, equal items roughly for the mid laners, although we are waiting for Slushie to finish his Morellonomicon. He has money for it, he just hasn't backed in a very long time. Flare's now in a battle. Calitrolls very far ahead. He's going to dive right on in and cannot quite get what he was looking for as Flares gets away over the wall. And now Slushie is caught. He is flashless, but he's inside a wall and gets away.
Yeah, a little bit of a bug there as he EQ'd over the wall. Could have been visual, not sure there, but he escapes with his EQ, Shurima Shuffle, whatever we want to call it. But because Calitrolls ulted top, because Slushie is low, it means NME is now going for this dragon. Calitrolls could still teleport in. It is thinking about being contested. The Gnar TP should call it off.
Gnar TP does come in. Mini Gnar, though, means he's not the most threatening, but it will not be contested as they are missing their star mid laner. Dragons equalized. Gold still 1,000 apart, though, as teammate feeling good about the places they're getting farm. And it's actually largely on Calitrolls, still.
Yeah. So, the early CS he was able to get, kind of at the cost of Porpoise, it seems, was giving him that big edge. It was a 2-level advantage he had over Flares, but he could not convert the kill, which is pretty key. And then because of what happened in the mid lane, NME was able to take the dragon afterwards. So it's kind of been a game of teammate having a decent strategical edge, but then either misplaying or getting a little bit caught out just position-wise. That NME is able to capitalize on those small things, which is all that NME's team is built around here. Sivir ultimate to engage them. They need to be able to have really clever echo positioning to get around all the Azir and Jinx things.
Yeah. Thresh is already very good peel support, and you've got Azir to help. Like, good luck dealing with that backline. You're absolutely right. Again, standout battle lines just simply would not work for enemy esports. So we'll see what kind of trickery they can get themselves involved in. Blue buff goes over. Enemy gonna feel okay about that one. Inox only down 12 CS. He's mostly staunched the flow of bleeding in that lane. He hasn't bought in a long time either, though, sitting on 800 gold, actually. I guess he just picked up boots and a Doran's ring.
Yeah.
He's got so much mana, though. Second Doran's ring, blue buff, and Morellonomicon just feels like infinite.
Yeah, and Echo will definitely be okay, mana-wise.
Yeah.
With this build. Inox is pretty much always going to be sitting at full mana. He's struggling against the pushing power of this Azir, though.
And yeah, with the turret up like this, he's got so little room he could even stand in. Because, of course,
yeah. And
how safe is Azir? You can just keep poking at him. And
well, it's mainly because of this ward coverage that Porpoise and the rest of the team have been able to set up. This double Sightstone this early in the game. Porpoise obviously getting it even before his Cinderhulk enchantment. Littering that side of the jungle with wards, and that's allowing Slushie to play that aggressive mid lane play. If not for teammate being caught out of position those couple of times, they would be crushing this game, but because they have been, they're leaving the door open for NME.
Well, we'll see if NME can walk through that door, because right now they're just simply sitting in their lanes. Calitrolls continues to have the gigantic push lead topside and then is also stealing away some jungle as much as he can. Flares will show up to the lane late, but only after losing that wave of minions to that tier 2 turret. Bot lane basically equal. There is some turret damage coming through, and Trashy has come alongside Inox to maybe knock that one down. There will be a Nunu defending, but the 4v3 should be more than enough. But Inox is forced to retreat back down to his mid lane or he loses that turret.
Yeah, as long as teammate keeps the map pressure up here. That was basically what prevented that push, is the fact that Azir could have pushed down the second tier mid turret and it wasn't worth NME committing 4 against 3 where they maybe would not even have gotten the turret.
Even a trade itself would have sucked. It's a tier 1 for a tier 2, so.
Yep.
Yeah, so far, NME kind of forced to play in the same lanes. Calitrolls, because he has such a big push lead, he's able to like leave the lane for like a minute and a half, clear 3 or 4 jungle camps, and then show back up there. Again, Nunu, who doesn't need a lot of farm, all he has to do is be a ward bot. They've got a basically secondary jungler to pick up that farm anyway. The gold isn't even disappearing off the map. Teammates still farming it all.
Yeah, CS-wise. It's definitely there. It's kind of interesting what NME is doing here because they've littered the bottom side of the map, dragon-wide, with wards, but they just moved their entire team up where they don't have ward coverage. It means they can't be very safe wherever they go.
Definitely a risk for sure. 2 to 3 in turret kills though. NME missing all their outers. The bot lane not quite dead yet, but close to it. Dragon up in 2 minutes. That will be in time for Flares' teleport. Calitrolls can't use his for the next 2 minutes or it will be down for that important objective. We just keep seeing the top laners push back and forth. Frozen Mallet finally done for Flares. That should help his 1v1. I want to see if that tilts the matchup much more. I still feel like it's Hecarim flavored, but I'm not much of a top laner myself.
The matchup right now, Hecarim versus Frozen Mallet.
Since Frozen Mallet's in, but speaking of Hecarim versus Frozen Mallet, how about Hecarim versus Otter? Good spell shield knocks, stops the knockback, and then Calitrolls misses that as well. I'm actually surprised he didn't knock down the spell shield. Normally you rampage a quarter second before E and you pretty much can't spell shield it.
Yeah, that is very true. You also kind of have to add in the fact that Calitrolls is on the tank Hecarim, and especially against the Janna who can peel after the burst, it's going to be really hard for Calitrolls to actually apply pressure to Otter.
That's true.
This may have been one of the matchups where he'd want to go with the Ignite. To speak to the Hecarim-Gnar matchup as well, once Gnar gets the Frozen Mallet, he can really keep Hecarim at bay in most situations from range form, and Gnar can really start to actually bully Hecarim just because of the existence of that item.
Wow. He's sitting 1,100 gold down, so if that does happen for Flares, that just kind of shows you how much of a key that item is. Also a level down. I want to see if this does play out any well. Right now, Calitrolls is just happy to keep farming, going for the Spirit Visage second, it looks like. And Dragon's going to be up in 24 seconds here. Calitrolls, of course, did use Teleport to make that play to the bot side, so TP advantage for this Dragon spawn for NME eSports. They seem happy to play just for the Drags right now and letting themselves farm. They have the mid lane cleared first. They've just recalled on almost the entire team. Very, very few people on that squad have golden pockets. Similar situation for teammate, that they have a bit more outstanding.
Yeah, they've been so passive after that early getting caught out of position by teammate. And this has been a struggle of teammate kind of throughout all of their struggles is Calitrolls as their shot caller. They haven't been able to find the right ways of kind of capitalizing on any early advantages. It happened last week. It seems to be happening again. They're supposed to be implementing a better system now with History Teacher. Nien coming in, everyone really loves his positive attitude. It helps them make calls in game. I imagine it's working very well in practice, but as far as actually on the LCS stage, we haven't seen it come together.
Yeah. But meanwhile, we're actually seeing NME eSports, the one actually making aggressive choices. They did secure the Dragon. They've now lane swapped Inox to the bot lane. He got the turret because of it. And now Otter is being sent to the mid lane to hold this. Gives Body Drop more room to roam around from this sort of base of operations. And it looks like NME eSports have managed to put in a good number of aggressive wards onto the other side of the map. Meanwhile, we don't see any at all from Team 8, so the ward game is going the way of the blue team right now.
Yeah. But because Dragon was just taken, there's just really not many objectives up on the map. This is kind of your classic game of 3 turrets down on both sides. Because they've traded advantages, neither team really wants to overcommit into a choke point because that's when they run the risk of getting destroyed. I mean, if Slushie now with the Death Cap and Relanonomicon ever catches NME in a bad spot, he's going to be able to crush them with Azir, whereas Teammate, if they try and get aggressive, they always run that risk of walking into an Echo clone, who then ults back and kills everyone.
Absolutely, yeah. Chasing into an Echo team is super risky, absolutely, especially an AP Echo. He's gotten Relanonomicon into Luden's Echo. I've seen Death Cap pretty commonly on him as well, but looks like he's going for the slightly higher mobility build, and they've got a Sivir ulti right on the Dodo, and they're going to knock him down.
Baron control is the next logical step. 20 minutes into the game, Teammate did not have the ward control. Get an easy pick with Siverald. Here comes Inox.
Yeah, careful, they're right on top of an Azir turret next. Gotta get right back out of this one, and in comes Hecarim. The cavalry has arrived, he's knocked down. Flares, the chase still coming. Slushy wants a lot to do. Jinx helping as well, Porpoise zoning back, but Otter knocks a kill down. 5-4, spell shields the Ice Blast, dodges a zap just by running away, and Slushy is still cleaning up.
2 for 2 so far. Inox on the backside. Very chaotic fight coming in there with a half turret dive into Calitrolls entering from the backside. It is teammate that comes out a little bit on top health bar wise. They're trying to get a push down the mid lane right now.
And this could be very successful. They're 5 seconds away from the next minion wave. Flares and Otter both dead. That's pretty much their... I guess they do have Echo still for wave clear tools, but it's not a lot. Trashy's kind of waiting around at half health, not able to do anything except soak a minion's worth of experience. Body drop can't help either. Teammate are going to have Porpoise slowed, but there's no engage.
Yeah, it's because all of their damage dealers were far, far away.
Yeah.
Inox with the CDR Echo build. I'll talk about that a little bit. His recommended items for Echo are Luden's Echo and Lichbane, just to kind of multiply his AP ratios up there a little bit, and because with his E he gets a lot of auto attacks off, plus the move speed is great for his assassination CC pattern. As you can see here, it was just Dodo going alone to try and get a ward in. They were worried of a Baron rush. He could have waited another 5 or 10 seconds to get some backup to go in there because the Baron would not have been down quickly enough. Outside of that, they then try and dive on top of an Azir turret, but there's never going to be any follow-up, and they have no eyes on the Hecarim. And here goes Slushy.
Ooh, flash talk about a Slushy. The ult is going to buy a bit of time, but not nearly enough. Inox takes him out without even having a flash over the wall. Another one for 0, and this time no Azir turret to stop any further pushing.
Yeah, just a really messy game right here. It's going to just come down to positioning properly and getting the right wards up, but mainly sticking together as a team. A lot of split decisions being made by individuals here that are costing them. Sometimes in an overly patient game, patience is the key, which is what's happening right now. Because all the mistakes are actually being, some of the mistakes are being capitalized on pretty harshly. NME wants to dive here.
Oh, they land the stun on a Porpoise. They go in, but Inox taking a whole lot of damage. Chain feared, Chain CC, and ults back in, but Ignite is on. He's got to run away. A lot of damage dealt. Ricochet cannot quite claim any victims, except maybe this turret going down after 3 more auto attacks. Teammate zoned away. NME eSports get the kill off the earlier Slushy pick.
Yeah, Inox was in the turret long enough that his clone was actually able to do damage to some of his opponents. Where's this Jinx rocket going?
Oh, man!
Ooh. Well, he's fine.
Still look cool. Unfortunately, no fantasy points for sweet-looking ults for Nien.
It's true. Definitely true. One thing we haven't kind of touched on. You always mentioned in Challenger, Nien's team would pretty much always lane swap to get him into the mid game.
Yeah.
In a good spot. Well, that's what teammate ended up doing this game. They had the lane swap, and as we can see against Otter, Jinx versus Sivir, they're pretty much even in CS. So this is a game where Nien doesn't have to play from a deficit. He has the same items, and honestly, teammate should have the better team fighting team, as long as they're not caught out of position by some sneaky Inox plays.
And at this point, Jinx is now a bigger damage threat than Sivir in about 95% of team fights, so it only gets better for here from Nien. And again, Blood Boil is amazing. Still only 1 point though. Porpoise has 3 in Consume, maxed Ice Blast. The, I believe, 5 attack speed per level on Blood Boil does not seem to be worth it for him to put any more points into that just yet.
I also kind of think it should be Blood Boiling the Azir.
Sure.
I feel like Azir does more damage.
That's fair.
In these team fights. Secondary Blood Boil target will be Jinx.
Okay. Trust you in that one.
I like the Black Cleaver Hecarim once again from Calitrolls.
Okay, yeah.
Something Flares did earlier. I think it's a great Hecarim item.
I think it especially fits because he hasn't gone Triforce. I think you can't afford to get more than 1 offensive item on most melees here, so with Cinderhulk, it does fit the build.
At the moment, though, teammate just has to stall a little bit and then teleport in, but they don't have flank wards for the teleport to come in. Calitrolls is trying to recall 4 home guards, but he can't do that yet. He comes in late and doesn't have home guards.
Dragon 3 already picked up, and the Sivir ulti to get the team out. NME eSports clean Dragon take and the retreat. They miss an ult for it, and they give pressure on the mid lane for teammate, which they're going to use right away to clear the wave. And what can they pressure? Except Baron.
They can try and pressure Baron.
They're going
It's
through
a bit of a desperation play right here. They just fumbled their teleport play. If they're going to be threatening a home guard teleport Dragon, they have to have the Hecarim in base. That's why NME was able to rush it. Now they're scrying orb on top of the Baron. Sivaralt has been burned, so the initiation potential isn't that great for NME. They just had to show up. That's all they had to do. They had to look at Teammate, and they had to go off the Baron.
And Teammate didn't want to engage. They had the Calitro's ulti, but they thought it was not going to be enough to pick the fight. They do get themselves over to this left side of the map, though, and they've also pinched top lane. So in the grand scheme of things, they've gotten in, but they're still unwilling to push in. Flares will have Mega Gnar. Azir ult says, don't you even dare try. And if there were a minion wave, that would be a turret kill, but Teammate do not stick for it.
Yeah. It's still a very close game after all of this. And honestly, these are teams that are looking for wins wherever they can get them. Teammates still needing their first win of the split. It's become more and more about this Baron now. And knowing that there's already an Azir ult down, and no teleport for the Hecarim, there's some very real vision gains that can be made by NME right here, if they can sweep properly and deny the vision from Team 8.
Right now, they're going to have Teammate hold the mid lane up. No lanes got pushed off those recalls. Enemy just kind of sat around Baron and hoped they could bait the enemy team in. That didn't happen here. Otter has to be afraid of Calitro's a little bit. Janus Shield says, I feel good. And we're again at a 1,000 gold game. Of course, neck and neck here. Teammate at 0-4, Enemy eSports at 2-2 in the overall North American LCS. Now that Enemy have had a couple more weeks to work with Trash, it seems his individual performance has gotten a bit better throughout the split. Inox still seemingly the hard carry of the team. Great Echo games so far.
Yeah, I want to see if he can transition that into these late game team fights, because yes, we've seen Echo do some really crazy things, but now that he's been out a bit longer, all 2.5 weeks, if Teammate can avoid falling into the ultimate, and if Echo can't get off his ultimate, his effectiveness is greatly diminished a lot, and especially with this NME team. Like, they don't have too much to actually lock people in Echo's W so he can get the stun reliably, unless Trashy goes in, you know, really well with kind of a flash Rek'Sai knockup to get them started. Really, we have to pay attention to Inox in these fights, because he will make or break this game for NME.
And so far, he's made it 100% kill participation, 4 of his team's 6 kills. You think it's pretty much all about him in this one. Enemy eSports have just taken turns having one of their players carry. In their breakout game, it was Otter's Vayne. This game, it's Inox's Echo, and earlier they had almost gotten the win off of Flares' Zarelli, but this time around, they're gonna get the knockup and the stun on a Porpoise. Nunu gets a Lantern out, the box comes in, and they just cannot get the kill. Inox at half health, forced ult out for no damage, and the counter engage comes in. Calitro's knocks back Trashy, gets one, and now the tanky Hecarim.
Yeah, and look at Inox just going back in. No ult this time, though.
But look at the follow-up, a double kill for Azir. Jinx is in the fray. Nien can't quite catch body drop, but it's a 3-for-1, 4-for-1.
Yeah, and making or breaking that game. Inox could jump in, but he never got a good ultimate off. He had to go back. They couldn't finish Porpoise. Focusing Porpoise and Thresh in the first place doesn't deal with the real issues of this team, which is Nien and Slushy. Despite being down 3 dragons with the superior late game team fighting composition, Teammate takes that fight heavily in their favor, 4-for-1, plus the Baron afterwards.
So that's what Teammate needed.
Yeah, looking at this one more time as well. Inox saw the pick opportunity, but honestly, the real pick opportunity was Porpoise and Slushy and Nien down on the bottom. All these people up top are just distractions. Teammate down at the bottom of the screen are the real guys. Slushy coming over the wall, and the Azir damage is the real threat. Because NME could never funnel in at the right moment, Inox gets chunked by those Azir shots. It allows Nien to come in from the back afterwards.
It feels like Enemy aren't respecting the fact that a 5-on-5 is not good for them. You can't chase through Azir and Jinx with proper peel. Just the damage just feels too high.
Yeah, it really appears like Enemy got trapped into a fight there, because they were going for the quick pick kill onto Porpoise. When they didn't get it, they saw the Lantern, they saw how low he was, they thought they could keep chasing. It ended up kind of tricking them into a team fight. Now they're against a Baroned up Azir Jinx team, completely on the back foot despite being up dragons.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. And Dragon up in 45 seconds. That will be during the Baron buff of Teammate, meaning they might get a second one themselves. Top lane tier 2 being defended for now. Calitros is killing a ward on the flank. Like, Enemy has to know a tower dive could happen here. And the tank line, I feel like, is big enough that they could tower dive. Calidros walks away after pressuring the mid lane, but that gives enough time for top 2-2 to go down. Teammate split pushing quite cleanly.
Yeah. Even with Baron minions, Sivir is still a pretty good wave clearing champion, but because of the split push there by Calidros, it sucks enough attention down to the mid lane and it'll let them get the outer turret. It's the outer turrets there. I call them the middle tier turrets, I guess. That are the ones that are the real target of the first Baron of the game. That's mainly what Teammate is focusing on getting here. If they got an inhibitor turret, it would be a big win.
Yeah, there's always a chance. A misstep or a great play can always end you up with more than you expected to have. We had a fairly slow game for the first 20 minutes, but recently it's picked up. Slushie gets a blue buff steal on his way out, and Calidros will even try to snag this red. Now he is alone in this one. It's flashes, but he has the ulti. Gets away with his life. Red buff will go to Otter after all. Now Dragon's up, and all of Teammate have already recalled in time. You notice like NME eSports, they don't even try to ward the river. They're like, yeah, you're right, that's yours, enjoy the Dragon.
And here's the big thing, Calidros back in base. I thought he was going to wait for home guard TP threat, but he just ends up running down and they take the Dragon anyway. Would have been great to prep a Dragon, but because it was uncontestable anyways.
Ooh, NX not quite in range. Lich Bane, Ludens. He timed out by enough.
Hey.
He's not going to get him.
Well, at least he's pushing the wave. And they have a head start on this wave. Teammate has to go back to base with the slow recalls.
Oh, Nian unwilling to base trade.
Thought about base trade.
He should. He has no words to know that it's safe, though, is the problem.
Yes, because they didn't
If you
spot
knew all
the rest
5
of
was
NME.
there. Yeah, exactly. Like, now they see 3 or 4 of them. They know the only guy missing is the jungler. But yeah, the threat of Inox, I guess, too high, and Yin will not split push that turret down. All the neutral objectives now off the map. We have about 3 minutes on Baron.
Look at the ward, the lack of wards right now. 1 scrying orb, it's on Nien. We know that enemy needs to be able to get a quick pick to win these fights if they can catch someone scouted out of position.
Wow. Teammate, they're like, we see Sivir. It's a bait. I'll bet you they're all in that brush. That ping is what that meant.
Yep.
That was slick.
Yeah, and a big wave stacking in the bottom. Gonna need to be cleared.
The funny thing is, enemy being stuck in the base means basically nothing. Both their buffs are gone. Dragon and Baron are gone for 2.5 to 5 minutes for each one. Teammate, like, there's literally nothing worth them warding, really. They're going to be the aggressive team, it looks like. They just get wards back in the bottom left of the map, at best.
And Slushie hits some really powerful item breakpoints right now with Ludens and Deathcap to go with his Void and Morellonomicon. The first soldier move with an auto attack, just that, placing a soldier, queuing into someone with it, proccing the Ludens, and then also having the soldier hit you once, is at least half of Inox's health or Otter's health if he doesn't spell shield. And that's not even where Azir gets most of his damage, which is from a sustained fight. But they're trying to pick off Nien. Where's the positioning? Teleporting in. No home guard for the Hecarim.
Azir's far away as well. It's going to be a bit of a 4v3 at the start of it all. They jump in onto Porpoise because they cannot catch Nien. His ult only hits Trashy and Calidros. Very tanky in the front. Dodo shows up. Porpoise still taking damage. Calidros just refuses to go down. Finally picked up by Flares. And there's more coming in for Inox. Azir now joins the fight. Can Slushie get anything here?
The carries of Teammate are still alive, but their front line is gone, so they have to be very hesitant about how they approach this. A hook would be great. Right now, enemy running towards the other team's base, but they have the speed, and because of the lack of front line, it's very hard for Teammate to approach. Not a group right there when they were caught out of position. Enemy gonna try and push the mid lane.
Teammate jumped into enemy territory without enough wards, without their mid laner. Enemy smart enough to capitalize on that one, and they get a nice surge of gold to almost tie the game back up. 1 minute on Baron, and enemy may have the control to get wards over that first. And in fact, that's exactly what Bloody Drop is doing.
Teammate still in position to win this game, of course, with their team comp. And yeah, it was basically, I don't necessarily know why they were down there without the Azir. They could have just had a little bit more patience and pushed it as a team. But because they did not, you can see this very crazy fight breakout. Enemy, you know they're far behind. They didn't even have the cleanest win there. Flares almost fell down. But Inox basically just picking off whoever he could because the realistic damage threat is Slushie, and he is there very late. He doesn't even get soldier damage over the wall once he does arrive, and ends up being a very lackluster collapse from Slushie's Azir.
And these AD carries, despite all the crazy things that happened throughout this game, of course, were very close in, and they are sitting on equal items, which, again, at 3.5 just means more for the Jinx. Baron now alive, Dragon in 2 minutes. A lot of farm on basically everyone. And
Yeah, this is real dangerous, but they do have the Azir. It's good zone control. Let's watch this fight.
Stun for Echo to catch Nien! And Baron Nashor goes to the red team. Everyone is alive still from Team 8. Slushie will get chunked pretty hard by Inox. They're going for Cali Trolls now. Trashy is gonna be the first one knocked down. A double kill as Otter's also dropped. Down goes Flares as well. It's a 5v2 now.
Team 8 is so superior in team fights that they can just start the Baron like that, get their AD carry stunned by an Echo, and still come out on top in the team fight. Now with Baron and 30-second death timers on 3 main members of NME, just Inox and body drop, this could be the game for you.
It could be indeed. 22 seconds to go till any of the valuable members respawn here. Mid inhibitor goes down, Baron buff still there. Inox just does not have the wave clear. He's at half already. Body drop barely does anything, and look how fast Nien and Slushie knock these turrets down. 1 more to go. Team 8 to get their first win of the split. The dive to Nien, they can't quite get him. That's Brillanomicon, not Ignite. Here's the response. Can they stop the game in time? Slushie diving in, a fear from Cali Trolls. 1 more hit, the Nexus goes down. The first win of the split for Team 8.
And it could not have come at a better time. They needed this win. So many difficulties for these guys coming into this game. Slushie playing great despite the adversity he is facing. So very gutty performance here by Team 8. It wasn't the prettiest game, but it counts. 1 and 4 now for them, knocking NME to 2 and 3.
Absolutely the scoreline. So 1 game apart now for both these teams as we've crest the 5th game of the split for both these guys. Team 8 looking for that late game insurance. Slushie finding another champion to be successful on. One is laned by a little bit, got the enemy turret down as well. In the end, as late game insurance as well, that worked out nicely. And Porpoise donating farm to Cali Trolls. Cali Trolls was part of 13 of his team's kills, actually highest kill participation.
Yeah.
He missed out on 1. They gave the farm to Cali, their top laner Juggernaut Hecarim, and it worked out for him.
Exactly. As a Hecarim, too, is not one of those guys who can just throw like a Jarvan flag down and get all the assists. Hecarim, he's got to be in the fight for a while in order to get the assist credit. A lot of short-range abilities. It's one of those games the Team 8 needs to have more of, funneling things through Cali Trolls and actually getting Nien to the mid-late game without a deficit. That's the big thing that they weren't able to do in a lot of their previous games. Nien was falling behind early on in CS, and then the team obviously couldn't come back from deficits, being able to get the early game lead. They absorbed enemies' mid-game aggression and the pick comp that they were trying to pull out, and eventually Team 8 was able to force some team fights down the stretch.
Yeah. Good job setting up on the Baron. The lane swap plan worked out. They